call this story There Is One Best Way, and here's why. Last year, I was invited by a leading consumer brands manufacturer to one of their facilities in Missouri. The goal was to improve the efficiency of their operating lines, and we picked a line that was operating at very low efficiencies for our Kaizen event. Now, as I walked through the line, I could see it was disorganized, dirty, and cluttered, and I knew there would be great opportunity. But as this plant had very little experience running Kaizen events, I knew that we had to seed the team with folks that could help us win. So I call them Kaizen rock stars. So we picked folks from the team, from the plant, that had enthusiasm and desire and skills. And we also picked a few rock stars from other locations. These rock stars are the ones that have had the opportunity to do Kaizen events, have shown their creativity, their enthusiasm, and their willingness to just help others improve. Now that we had the team, we decided that we would have a reliability-based event. Now, this type of event is run by me in a little stricter way than I run my other events, in that the first day, we're going to do some very basic improvements that are not going to be of the team's choosing, but I'm going to be showing them a method to get their line reliable. From there, then they can pick the things they want to do, and they can pick the area of focus on the line. So when we kicked off with the team, we took a tour of the line, and I started to ask questions of them. And we found that there were two locations on the line that were giving them the most difficulty: the product filler and the carton wrapper. And I let the team pick the one area we were going to work on first, and they chose the carton wrapper. Now, we knew that we were going to have to shut down the line for a couple hours. So during that time, we had the crew clean the filler because it was so caked in dust and dirt that we couldn't even tell what was inside the filler. And there was no way to assess it until it was clean. So we spent our time on the carton wrapper. And the first thing I taught the team was how critical it was to find the center of this wrapper, and then make sure we optimize the product coming into the wrapper around the center. Well, as it turns out, we found out that the product coming in was off center by 3/4 of an inch. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, except it really creates a problem when things aren't centered, and none of the guides and the conveyors were set up to be balanced and centered. What we also saw was, although we were running 2 streams of product through the production line, the line was set up to have 3 streams of product. And when I asked deeper questions, I found out that in the 9 years that line had been operating, there was never a time that they tried to run 3 streams of product. So we basically decided to get rid of one of the streams or one of the lanes. And what that did was it kind of cleared the line and made it a lot easier to get at and adjust the equipment on the rest of the line. Once we took out the lane, we then centered the 2 remaining lanes to the center of that carton wrapper, and then tested sending product down the line. The team was amazed to see how much easier product flowed and how jams all but went away. Now it was time to spend time on the filler, which got cleaned while we were down for a few hours. To our amazement, the parts in the filler were mostly broken and didn't match each other in the way that they were supposed to. Now that it was clean, the team knew what it had to do. All they had to do was put the right parts in the filler and then put in a process to keep it clean on a daily and shift basis. So over the rest of the week, we improved so many more parts of the line, and we came to a point when it was time to decide, how are we going to run this line now that it's been improved so much? I had 4 operators on the team, each representing a different crew and a different shift. And it turns out they were very proud of the way they ran their line. Each one had a different method. 2 of the operators, Sue and Jane, were very adamant that their way was the best. The other 2 operators decided to let Sue and Jane fight it out. Now, we can't really have a battle, but they were very clear in their beliefs that their way was the best. The good news was everything had changed. So I decided to challenge them to prove that their method was best. And so what they were going to do was demonstrate their approach, and the other two operators were going to observe. Now, we were going to try to do this unemotionally, so I gave them two ways to analyze. One was using a thing called a spaghetti diagram. And what that does is it actually watches the movement of the person as they do their work. And the more lines of spaghetti there are, the more effort and distance a person has to travel. The other thing we were going to use was a stopwatch. Let's see how long it actually takes to service the line the way they would need to, and let's see if there is any difference. So Sue went first, and she essentially went around the line clockwise, and she was sure that her way was going to be the best. Now, when Sue was done, what we found out was all her tasks took 25 minutes and had tons of spaghetti on our diagram. Well, then Jane was next, and Jane said, I know I can do better, and she basically went counterclockwise around the line. Now, neither of them rushed. We wanted to make sure they did it safely, and we wanted to have a reasonable and clear comparison. So Jane went counterclockwise, and when she was done, there was way less spaghetti, and it took 14 minutes. Suddenly, the light bulb went on for all of our operators and the rest of the team. It was clear to go counterclockwise, and Sue even agreed, even though she had thought her way was going to be the best. So we created the standard work for that approach, and we decided that's how we would train the rest of the crew, and the team took that as their responsibility. During the report out, each team member got to give their reflections on how the week went for them in front of the leadership team. And what was really neat was to watch Sue and Jane and the rest of the operators essentially admit that it's okay to pick one way and then align and then hold themselves accountable for that. And in the end, I was getting reports after our event of record production for that facility, and it continues to this day.
I hope this story provided you with some inspiration to revisit your own processes. I have a lot more I'd like to share. Head over to pi-partners.com to learn how I can help. And check back from time to time for more Kaizen stories.